Cowboys Nation, what's up? We're back with some crucial updates, and let me tell you, our team is always working hard to improve and push for better results. But as we all know, the NFL season is long, and injuries can shake things up fast. Before we dive into the latest news on Demarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons, go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe to the channel to keep up with all the Cowboys news you won't want to miss. Let's get into it. After a huge win against the New York Giants, the Cowboys defense has been hit with some tough news. Demarcus Lawrence, one of the cornerstones of our pass rush, is dealing with a Lisfranc injury. If you're not familiar with it, a Lisfranc injury involves damage to the bones or ligaments in the middle of the foot, and it's one of those injuries that can keep a player sidelined for weeks. The good news? According to Todd Archer from ESPN, Lawrence doesn't need surgery because the bones weren't displaced. But even with that silver lining, we're still looking at a 4 to 8 week recovery window, meaning Lawrence will likely land on injured reserve. That's a huge hit to our defense, especially when you consider Lawrence's importance over his 11 years with the Cowboys. And don't forget, Lawrence is in a contract year, which makes his absence even more significant. We're talking about a player who has been a full-time starter for us in recent seasons, and now, at 32 years old, his future with the Cowboys is uncertain. With Micah Parsons also banged up, the question is, what's next for our pass rush? Now, on to Micah Parsons. While his injury isn't as serious as Lawrence's, there's still some concern about his availability moving forward. The exact details of Parsons' recovery timeline are unclear, but any time missed by him would be a massive blow to our defense. Parsons has been a force on the field since he entered the league, and losing him, even for a short period, is something that could shake the foundation of the Cowboys' defensive unit. 2 Pro Bowlers potentially sidelined is never good news, but here's the deal. We still have time to make moves and bolster our defense. There's no need to hit the panic button just yet. However, the Cowboys do need to explore trade options or look for available free agents who can help carry the load while Lawrence and possibly Parsons recover. That brings us to the next point. Who should the Cowboys target to fill these big shoes? Top 5 edge rushers the Cowboys should target. Let's break it down. The Cowboys have a few options to consider if they want to maintain pressure on opposing quarterbacks. We all know that a strong pass rush is crucial to success, and with our 2 key players out, here are 5 edge rushers the Cowboys could target. 5. Kingsley Jonathan, Buffalo Bills. First up is Kingsley Jonathan, currently on the Buffalo Bills practice squad. Jonathan is an up-and-coming athlete who flashed potential during the preseason. He initially had dreams of playing in the NBA, but once he switched his focus to football, he quickly made a name for himself at Syracuse, where he played 5 solid years. Jonathan may not have the NFL experience of other names on this list, but he's the kind of raw talent that could grow with more playing time. 4. Dietrich Wise Jr., New England Patriots. Next, we've got Dietrich Wise Jr. from the New England Patriots. Wise is in the final year of his contract and has a cap hit of around $7 million. The Patriots are in a tough spot this season, and both Wise and the team might be open to parting ways. While absorbing his entire salary would be tough for the Cowboys, working out the right trade could bring in a veteran who knows how to get after the quarterback. Wise has spent 8 years in New England and could be the boost we need on the edge. 3. Emmanuel Ogbah, Miami Dolphins. Another name to consider is Emmanuel Ogbah from the Miami Dolphins. Ogbah is a proven pass rusher with 43 career sacks, and with the Dolphins season teetering, they might be looking to unload some veterans if things don't turn around soon. Ogbah's salary is more manageable at about $3 million, and he could slide right into a starting role with Lawrence out. His experience would be a huge asset to our defense. 2. Azeez Ojulari, New York Giants. How about grabbing someone from a division rival? Azeez Ojulari from the New York Giants could be an interesting target. Ojulari had an impressive rookie season with 8.5 sacks, but injuries have limited his production since. With the Giants leaning on Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns, Ojulari might be the odd man out. He's still on his rookie contract, making him a cheap option, and he's young enough to have plenty of upside if he can stay healthy. 1. Jadeveon Clowney, Carolina Panthers. Finally, the biggest name on the list, Jadeveon Clowney. Currently with the Carolina Panthers, Clowney signed with them mainly for the paycheck. But with the Panthers off to a rough start, they might be open to moving some of their veterans, and Clowney could be on the trading block. His current contract is hefty, so the Cowboys would likely only pull the trigger on a deal if Carolina agrees to take on some of his salary. But if that happens, Clowney would bring instant star power to our defense, especially in Lawrence's absence. So, what should the Cowboys do? The upcoming games will be crucial, and without Lawrence and potentially Parsons, it's going to be tough to maintain the same level of defensive dominance. That said, the Cowboys have a strong roster and a front office that isn't afraid to make bold moves when needed. Whether it's through trades, signings, or elevating players from within, we're all hoping the Cowboys can keep up the momentum and stay competitive while our stars recover. Looking ahead, the Cowboys face a few tough opponents, and it's clear we'll need all hands on deck. The defense, particularly the pass rush, is going to be tested. If we can pull off a trade for a solid edge rusher, or if someone like Dorrance Armstrong steps up, we might be able to weather the storm until Lawrence and Parsons are back at full strength. So, the Cowboys pulled off a 20-15 victory over the New York Giants. On paper, a win is a win, but this one left a lot of fans feeling uneasy. I get it. Beating the Giants has almost become a routine with Dak Prescott at the helm. That's 7 straight wins against them, and while it's great to continue the streak, how we win matters, especially when we're aiming for postseason success. Now, let's break this down. One of the biggest concerns over the past few weeks has been our run defense. We were looking like a sieve out there, getting burned on the outside, and the other teams were picking up yards way too easily. But Thursday, night and day difference. Our defense stepped up, and we're going to take a closer look at why. The Cowboys' defense allowed just 26 rushing yards against the Giants. That's a stat you don't see every day. You'd have to go back to the Rod Marinelli era to find a game where the Cowboys held an opponent to fewer rushing yards. But what's even more impressive is how this came together after 2 rough weeks where our run defense was getting torched. In the 2 previous games, teams were gashing us with outside runs, picking up 10-plus yards before even getting touched. It was frustrating to watch, and I know a lot of you were as concerned as I was. But Thursday was a completely different story. The Giants tried to attack us on the outside, but this time, our defense was disciplined. Guys stayed patient on the edge, forcing the action back inside where the rest of the defense could clean up. You could see the players trusting each other, staying in their lanes and not overcommitting. And it paid off in a big way. The Cowboys' defense refused to get beat on the outside. They were disciplined. They contained the edge, and they forced the Giants to run the ball where they had no room to operate. We didn't see those blown coverages or wide-open gaps that had been haunting us in the last couple of games. Discipline was the key. Not only were the edge defenders holding their ground, but the linebackers were working as a unit for the first time this season. Eric Kendricks, DeMarvion Overshown, and Maris Lufau were in sync, staying in their gaps and sticking to their assignments. It's tough to resist the urge to abandon your assignment and chase the ball, but when everyone does their job, the whole unit benefits. That's exactly what we saw on Thursday. You've probably heard it a million times. It all starts up front, and that was definitely the case on Thursday. The interior defensive line has been a weak spot for the Cowboys in recent years, and we've seen some really bad performances earlier this season. But on Thursday night, something clicked. Let's talk about Mazi Smith for a minute. This guy had the best game of his career so far. He was getting off the ball, splitting double teams, and redefining the line of scrimmage. The Giants had nowhere to run, largely because of the improved play from Smith and the rest of the defensive tackles. This was a huge turnaround from earlier games, where we couldn't stop anyone between the tackles. And it wasn't just Smith who impressed. DeMarvion Overshown continues to stand out as a second-year player who's coming into his own. He had some great plays, including one where he beat his blocker to the outside and forced the running back to change direction completely. His speed and length are becoming a real problem for opposing offenses. One player I want to highlight is Donovan Wilson. He's still trying to find his role in this defense, especially in Mike Zimmer's system. There were hopes that Wilson could step up as a second safety in coverage, but that may have been a bit optimistic. That said, Wilson's value in run defense can't be overlooked. He's essentially playing like a fourth linebacker in certain situations, filling gaps and making key stops against the run. He's aggressive at the line of scrimmage, and when he's free to hit someone, he makes them feel it. However, it's not all perfect with Wilson. He's a bit of a boom or bust player right now. When he's in the right position, he can make a splash play, but when he's not, he can be caught out of position. We saw this on a fourth down stop attempt against the Giants, where he got a little too aggressive and gave up the edge. It's something the coaching staff will need to work on, but Wilson has shown flashes of being a game changer in the run game. Now, I know a lot of you are concerned about the injuries to Micah Parsons and Demarcus Lawrence. And you should be. These guys are game changers. Both are crucial to what we do defensively, especially in terms of creating pressure and disrupting the run game. The idea of being without them for any extended period is scary. Even when Parsons isn't making plays himself, he's drawing attention and opening up opportunities for other defenders. The same goes for Lawrence. Losing both of them at the same time could seriously impact how effective our defense can be. But the good news is that our defense showed they can step up as they did against the Giants. Thursday night's game showed a lot of promise, especially with how disciplined and aggressive the defense played. But here's the real question. Can the Cowboys maintain this level of play? Sure, the Giants aren't the toughest competition, but the way our defense responded, especially after two tough outings, is a sign that things are moving in the right direction. The defense looked more cohesive, and if we can keep this up, it's going to make life a lot easier for the entire team. But there's always room for improvement, and the injuries to Parsons and Lawrence will test the depth of this defense in the coming weeks. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think the Cowboys should do? Should we trade for one of these edge rushers? Or do we roll with the guys we have and wait for Lawrence to heal? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep the conversation going. Before you go, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. We've got a lot of exciting content coming your way, and you don't want to miss any updates as we navigate this challenging part of the season. Thanks for tuning in, and as always, go Cowboys!